Katherine Johnson's story doesn't begin in a laboratory or at NASA. It begins in a small town tucked into the hills of West Virginia, where a little girl walked around counting everything: steps, stars, windows, patterns in the dirt. Numbers didn't scare her, they spoke to her. They were alive, dancing behind everything she saw. By the time most kids were learning multiplication, Katherine was asking questions that her teachers didn't know how to answer. At just 10 years old, she'd already outgrown her town's school system, and her parents made a decision most families of their time would never consider. They packed up their lives and moved solely so their daughter could continue her education. That's how extraordinary she was. Katherine flew through high school, and at 14 she entered college. Her professors would pause their lectures just to marvel at her speed. She wasn't doing math, she was playing with it. Equations that intimidated everyone else were warm-ups for her. She graduated with highest honors, armed with a math degree and a burning desire to do something big. But in the 1930s, the world wasn't ready for a brilliant black woman scientist, so she took the job that was available: teaching. And although she loved her students, she knew deep down she was built for something more. When she heard that the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, NACA, the agency that would eventually become NASA, was hiring African-American women as computers, Katherine felt something ignite. These weren't computers like we know today. These were human beings who performed the complex mathematical calculations that engineers depended on. She applied, she was hired, and the moment she walked into the Langley Research Center in 1953, people could feel she was different. Katherine solved equations with a speed and elegance that made engineers stare in disbelief. If someone handed her a problem that required hours of calculation, she would return with the solution before they'd even finished their coffee. At first, men around her didn't quite know how to handle this. Many of them had never worked alongside a woman in this capacity, let alone a black woman. She was expected to stay quiet, follow orders, and never question decisions. But that wasn't Katherine. She asked questions, important ones, and she asked them boldly. She walked into meetings women weren't allowed to attend, pulled up a chair, and took notes like she belonged there, because she did. When the Soviet Union launched Sputnik in 1957, everything changed. America was officially in the space race, and fear was in the air. Suddenly, every number mattered more than ever. Every decimal point had the power to ruin a mission or save a life. And when engineers needed someone to double-check the most complicated equations, they didn't hesitate. "Get the girl," someone said, "the one who does the math." That girl was Katherine. Her calculations weren't just quick, they were flawless. She became the go-to mathematician for trajectories, re-entry paths, and briefing reports. Her work shaped early spaceflight, but the world had no idea. In 1962, when NASA was preparing to send astronaut John Glenn into orbit, they were testing something new: electronic computers. These massive machines processed numbers faster than human hands ever could, but trust was still low. If a computer's calculation was wrong, Glenn's spaceship could break apart or miss Earth entirely. Glenn knew the stakes. Before boarding the Friendship 7 capsule, he famously said, "Get Katherine to check the numbers. If she says they're good, then I'm ready to go." Think about that. The most famous astronaut in the country placed his life in the hands of a mathematician who, not long before, wasn't even allowed to use the same restroom as her colleagues. Katherine took the computer's readings, pages and pages of numbers, and recalculated everything by hand. Hours passed as she worked with total focus, pencil gliding across paper, checking angles, timing, potential failure points, and orbital mechanics that had zero room for error. Finally, she handed over her results. The numbers are correct, and that was it. John Glenn launched, orbited the Earth, and returned home safely. His mission changed global history, and it would never have happened without Katherine Johnson. But her legacy didn't end there. Katherine went on to help calculate the trajectory for Apollo 11, the mission that landed humans on the moon. Her equations guided astronauts through space and back to Earth. She later contributed to the Space Shuttle program and early plans for missions to Mars. While the world celebrated astronauts, rockets, and flag planting, she remained in the background, quiet, steady, and brilliant. Yet she wasn't just solving math problems, she was breaking barriers every single day. She faced racism that tried to confine her, sexism that tried to silence her, and institutional limits that tried to keep her on the sidelines. But she kept showing up, she kept proving herself, and in the end, talent won. Katherine Johnson lived to be 101 years old. She saw NASA honor her with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She watched children of all races learn her name. She watched the story of her life inspire millions in the movie Hidden Figures. And even then, she stayed humble. If anyone asked how she did it, she'd simply say, "I was just doing my job." But her job reshaped history. Because of her, rockets launched. Because of her, astronauts lived. Because of her, humanity reached the moon. And because of her courage, generations of women and girls, especially black women, saw that brilliance has no color, intelligence has no gender, and greatness has no boundaries. Katherine Johnson didn't just calculate trajectories, she calculated possibilities. She opened the sky for everyone who came after her, and she proved that when you follow the numbers, you might just rewrite the universe. If you enjoyed this story, hit follow, like the video, and press the bell icon for more exciting stories of legends.